Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the City Council meeting on the proposed budget for August 12th, 2020.
Yay.
And today the meeting's on the final changes to the mayor's proposed budget for the 2021 season. We have a resolution in front of us. Would you like to read that, or how would we want to go forward? Angie, would you want to read that proposal?
Per Resolution A90340, Sandra Washington has proposed utilizing a maximum of $100,000 of general fund property tax revenues to fund library and parks and recreation after-school programs if assessed valuations come in higher than the 2.49% that is currently projected.
And I understand this is the only proposal we have in front of us today. Okay? Yes, Councilperson Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to let council members know that I heard the conversation on Monday afternoon, and I understand that the ability to keep our budget trim, considering how many priorities we have, is important to folks, which is one of the reasons why I offered this as a contingency. But I wanted to let you know that I'm looking at the numbers more closely, and if when we get to the 20th, if we are closer in budget or tighter in budget, I'm looking at proposals that would do something positive at 75% and at 50%. So I'm looking at the two different options, which would mean, of course, that I would either modify the resolution. It would still be no more than $100,000, but I would be coming in with something more exact that was less than $100,000. $100,000 gets us where I want us to go. $50,000 would get us part way of what I want to go, because I'm still looking at numbers of kids out of school and the need for ensuring that there are hot spots in libraries and rec centers that could help.
Okay.
Well,
Yes,
I hate to
Councilman.
drag this out, but I would like to get an opinion about, from the budget director, if changes can be made at that point,
Finance director?
process.
Director Kaufman.
Finance or budget?
Yes, the finance director, sorry.
Jerry.
So typically, there's always some changes on the last night of the budget. So, for example, in the last biennium, the valuations came in higher, and then we put language in at that time that said, we're going to take that money and reserve it for streets.
Mm-hmm.
However, if revenues don't come in, then we're not going to transfer that money.
And they didn't.
Yeah, and so we didn't transfer those, yeah.
Okay. Councilperson Raybold.
Mr. Kaufman, could you address some of the recent developments with football in the city of Lincoln and how that will impact the budget going forward?
Okay. That's a good question and a tough one to answer too, because for one, we know now there's not going to be fall football. Potentially. I mean, there could be a game maybe they were talking about today, but I don't know, there's so much in the air with that. And then if that moves to spring, which has also been discussed, then that would stay within our fiscal year, but be on the latter half of the fiscal year. But if nothing occurs, I think, so we've found, I found a study from 13-14 from Dr. Eric Thompson, and at the time he said football is about $5 million impact in the community per game. So I took that and put some inflators on it, and then they had it kind of broken down into categories, and then I put, our sales tax and occupation taxes and gas tax and all those things built in to come up with about $260,000 direct hit to the city in revenue received from a game weekend.
From a game weekend?
From a game weekend.
200.
Yeah.
Say that number again.
About 260,000
Okay,
per
thank you.
game. So I think typically 7 home games. And maybe you could count a spring game as a half a game. So, I mean, it's a substantial hit to the revenues. As you know, with a budget, there's a lot of moving pieces, and sales tax is the most economically sensitive. So, without football, there's a definite direct impact on sales tax. We did get a refund notice from the state with I think it's the Nebraska Advantage Act for business incentives. Typically, we range about $1 million annually on payouts to businesses that they deduct from sales tax. We got a notice that in January we're going to have a $1.4 million one payment of $1.4 million that's going to be deducted out in the January. So that's going to be an impact to sales tax as well on the upcoming fiscal year.
Okay. Any other
Thank you.
comments or questions? Thank you. I think that's one of the good reasons why we decided to do a one-year budget at this time, because things are moving and changing daily. Any other comments? If not, we can call the roll on this resolution.
Jane wants to say something.
Yes.
Well, I've had some more time to think about this, and I wholeheartedly support the intent and the idea behind it, because I think the most important thing, is to make sure that we keep our children in school. And if that means we all have to wear masks, we all have to wear masks. And if we keep our businesses viable and our economy sound, we all have to wear masks. We just have to point blank do that. With all these things that are happening, especially when it comes to football, that's a big hit. If it's 260,000 times 7 home games, and I didn't even count the spring game, that's like $1.82 million that we're going to have to find a way to figure that one out. And then certainly Finance Director Kaufman also mentioned something that we're going to have to pay the state in January of about $1.4 million. So it's trending in the wrong direction right now. And everything is fluid, and there are so many other unknowns. That would be great if we have convert the football season to a spring one. And that might gain a toehold going forward. I don't know, but it's really uncertain times, and I wholeheartedly support the intent of this to make sure that our kids are in a safe place with after-school programs and additional library hours, as we know that is so critical. But at this time, I'm not sure how we can swing it financially, to be honest with you. And for that reason, I can't support this at this time.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, Councilperson Bowers.
I just want to say I do plan on supporting this, and I appreciate Council in Washington's leadership and her responsiveness to figuring out how we can protect and provide services to people in our community. So I plan on supporting it, and I want to say thank you for your leadership, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Anybody else at this time? Okay. We can call the roll on the resolution.
Schob,
No.
Raybold,
No.
Ward,
No.
McGinnis,
No.
Bowers,
Yes.
Christensen,
No.
Washington.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion failed.
And that was the only item we had on our agenda today.
I move adjournment.
Second?
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn. Please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Schob.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sandra.